For which of the following equations are x equal to 5 and x equal to -5 both solutions, both the correct answer? So again, we have to look at the answer choices to see what we have. So we have 4 choices, we have 4 equations, and we want to see which of these, when you plug in 5 and plug in -5, will produce 0. And however, that's one way to do it. Okay, and since this is a multiple choice test, you can actually just do that. Plugging 5 into all the x's and make sure that it works out to be 0. And also plugging -5 into all the x's and to make sure that also come out to be 0. That's one way to do it. I will show you that first, and then I will do another video and show you guys another way to actually solve the equation. So I will just write, we just need to check. If when you plug in x equal to 5 and x equal to -5 are both answers, are both solutions. Okay? So check choice A. So choice A, I have the equation x squared minus 5x minus 25. I want to know if that's equal to 0 when x is equal to 5 and the case that x equal to -5. So let me check if x is equal to 5 first. So I'm going to plug in 5. I will write this down for you guys. Plug in x equal to 5. And I will get, when I see an x, I will open the parentheses and I will put the 5 inside of the parentheses. So I have 5 squared and then minus the 5 from original equation. I see the x, I will open the parentheses, and I will put this 5 into that parentheses. I have minus 25. Will that give me 0? Okay, so that's the one I will have to do the work. We have to do the work. So for this one, 5 squared is 5 times 5, so that's 25. And then -5 times 5 is again minus 25. Bring down on minus 25. Will that give me 0? Well, 25 minus 25, these two, they just cancel out to be 0. So we are saying -25, right? All this add up to -25. And for sure, this is not 0. So as we can see, when you plug in 5 into x, this equation does not give you 0. So we know answer choice A is incorrect. So we cross this out. So we can just do the rest. And let me do B for another example. B, I have x squared plus 25. Will that be 0 when you plug in x equal to 5? Okay, so I have x squared. I see the x. Open the parentheses. I want to put a 5 into the parentheses. So I have 5 squared and plus 25. Will that give me 0? 5 squared is 25 plus another 25. And of course, 25 plus 25, this is 50. That cannot be equal to 0. So, B is not the answer neither. B is not the answer neither. And let me guess, another paper. Let me check C. Now let's check C. I have x squared plus 10x minus 25. Will that be 0 when I plug in x equal to 5? So, run through the calculation. I see the x squared. So, I see the x, I put parentheses, I put a 5 inside, and I have the square plus the 10. I see the x, parentheses, I have the 5 into the parentheses, minus the 25. Will that be 0? 5 squared is 25, plus 10 times 5 is 50, minus 25. Will that be 0? 25 plus 50 is 75, right? So I have 75 minus 25. Will that be 0? Of course not, because 75 minus 25 is 50. It's not 0. So again, choice C is not the answer. Choice C is not the answer. Last one. Well, it's kind of nice. D has to be the answer, right? But let's just do the check. Let's just do the check. Choice D, x squared minus 25. Will that be 0 when I plug in x is equal to 5? So I see the x. I'm going to put a parenthesis. I put a 5 inside, and I have the square. Minus the 25, will that be 0? 5 squared is 25, and minus 25, is that 0? Of course, it is. 25 minus 25 is 0, so it checks. Good. Now, we also have to check negative 5 though, because we want to make sure that these two are both solutions. So, now we want to plug in x is equal to negative 5. So x squared minus 25, will that be 0 when I have negative 5 into x? Open the parentheses for the x, put a negative 5 inside. I have the square on the outside, minus 25. Will that be 0? Right here, we have to be a little bit careful. When you have a parenthesis and negative 5 to the second power, this means negative 5 times negative 5. The square is for the negative 5. So we are going to write down the negative 5 twice. When you multiply negative 5 times negative 5, we get a positive 25. And then when you subtract another 25, will that be 0? And of course, right? So, as you can see that choice D, x squared minus 25, when you plug in 5 or negative 5, they both work out to be 0. And therefore, D is the answer. D is the answer.